In this study, we focused on ethnic minority youth and how they develop their identity, how they target their identity issues, what is the most important for them. Because until now, there was little integrated knowledge about specifically ethnic minority youth in Europe. What we observed in this literature review, that there is some support for the tendency that ethnic minority youth in Europe might be undergoing a more intensive identity crisis compared to their mainstream peers. That means that they could be questioning their cultural belonging, they could be questioning their interpersonal relationships or their occupational choices more intensively compared to mainstream youth. On the other hand, it is not clear from the existing studies what are the consequences of this intensified identity work, whether this brings less favorable identity outcomes for ethnic minority youth, or does it make them more resilient, more strong, and in a more favorable situation compared to the mainstream youth. Some studies support this idea that ethnic minority youth have some less favorable outcomes due to more intensified identity search, but other studies did not confirm this. And in particular, studies which revealed ethnic minority youth as very actively engaged in their identity development as agents and as very creative agents who are able to construct hybrid identities, taking elements from different groups, from different contexts, and integrating it all in their identity. So this hybrid identity, it looks that this may be something that is also specific for ethnic identity youth and makes them in some ways different from the mainstream youth. What was the most interesting to me, that some findings about how ethnic minority youth develop their identity and what are the outcomes of identity development process were just contrary and really opposite to each other. So, for example, you could see that for some youth, stronger commitments to their ethnic group, their stronger ethnic identity, could be linked to favorable outcomes such as higher well-being. But for the same ethnic group in another country, building their ethnic identity, making it stronger, it could bring exactly opposite outcomes. So this could be linked to lower well-being. And then, as researchers, we are really in a very difficult situation because we need to explain this and we need to somehow say something general about how ethnic youth develop their identity and what are the consequences of these processes. And when you have such conflicting findings, it is very difficult to make some generalization. So we just need to say that, okay, it is context dependent and we need more studies. It is important that those who work with youth across Europe, with ethnic minority youth, take into account that building identity for ethnic minority young person may require much more resources and much more efforts on behalf of a young person compared to the mainstream youth. So it means that this issue shouldn't go unnoticed, and that maybe some resources could be provided for youth to explore who they are, to find their comfortable identifications, to find comfortable values for them, comfortable goals, and so on. So youth workers really have to take this into account. Another issue is that it is difficult to say something more from the findings because the findings are really mixed. So it means that the ones who are working with youth, they should really take into account what is the context of that particular ethnic minority group that they are dealing with, and what is the country, what are the country policies, also how is the group perceived in the general public, is it a discriminated group against, and this all might make a crucial difference when considering what support youth need for their identity development. A message for youth could be that they should really trust in themselves, in their ability to find what's best for them in terms of their identity, because we see from research examples that youth are able to be very creative. They can build hybrid identities. They can pick what is most convenient, what is most important, and what is most favorable for them when building their identity. So really be free to explore, not only what is just close by, nearby, but also global identity options, also more general identities like global multicultural identity, like European identity. And these are all really make resources for youth in their identity development. In this study, we didn't collect new data, we just looked at the existing studies and their findings and tried to come up with some insights and some generalizations based on those previous studies. And we worked in a team of 6 researchers from 3 different countries. And it was, of course, quite a challenge, but also a big advantage. So advantage because, 6 minds are really good for brainstorming, for insights, and for coming up with major interesting ideas. But on the other hand, when you need to integrate those findings, when you need to integrate those insights, it becomes really hard to work across different countries and in a team of 6 researchers. So for me, it was really a new, the first experience of such work, and the last integrative part was really, really challenging. I would say that this study resembles not some particular instrument, but maybe a procedure of medical examination. When you take different samples with different tools and you try to make a general diagnosis or a general evaluation of what is this body, what is the situation of this body. So in this case, body of research on ethnic minority youth identity. Ethnic minority, Europe, youth and identity.